Hey everybody, Ryan Doyle at the Verdigris Table, where I was lucky enough to spend an afternoon connecting with Jason Presson of Ravenlore. If you like horror vibes and great production values, you're gonna like Ravenlore, so check it out. This is actually the second half of our conversation. We did a round of D20 questions, which you can see up here. In this one, we break out the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation, which is now available on Drive-Thru RPG, link down below. You'll also find a link to Ravenlore and a link to my discount code to Into the AM. If you like awesome graphic tees like this shirt or the one I'm wearing in this video, there's an ever-changing lineup, and I can save you 10%, and it's a great way to support the channel. So is joining our Patreon and feeding the algorithm by pushing those good buttons and leaving comments, another great option, and those don't cost a thing. All right, I hope you enjoy the Explorer we create and the story we build around them, and I know a lot of folks out there are going to resonate with the beginning of this one, where Jason shares his passion for this hobby. So let's light it up. All right, and
All right.
we are back. You may notice that Jason has upped his game. I really liked the tie ensemble, but I'm delighted to be
I,
working.
I had to get my world building garb on.
I
Right.
love, I
You gotta
love
wear
it.
the jerkin
I
and get
love
my
that.
power band on, my thinking cap.
Yeah,
So
don't underestimate the power of like tokens and talismans. Like, yeah, surround yourself with creative toys. You want to put on a thinking cap, literally,
I,
it can help. Don't
I
sleep on that stuff.
literally did that. Oh, and if nobody has dressed up for a campaign in person, dress up. Dress
Hmm.
up for your games. It's
Hmm.
fun. Don't let your wife look at you like you got two heads when you go and put on a jerkin to go downstairs. Light some candles.
She know who she married. She
Yeah,
knows.
she and if she didn't, she will. She'll
Yeah,
find out.
yeah.
You know, if she's not playing with you. I mean, my wife tangentially follows the D&D. She is I personally, and she probably won't watch this as much as she loves me. She finds it arduous to sit through my stuff, which is
You
fine.
tell her
It's
that I'm
okay.
personally offended that she's not going to watch this.
I'll tell her, Ryan, but she's not gonna know it. Yeah, she's not gonna find
My
it.
wife has played in multiple campaigns with me. She is not going to watch this. So
Yeah, I'm trying to get her to play, and I recently got her sister on board because she's like, you didn't tell me there was a vampire setting. I'm like, obviously you haven't watched my videos in years. I'm like, that's okay, that's okay. I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, it's to all the wives out there, just let your husbands have their stuff. It's fine. Let
do
them.
it up. Do it
Yeah,
up. In some way, I mean, it cuts both ways now. It's that we live in the future. There's definitely some husband who's like, "What the fuck is D&D?" and his wife
that's
is like
true.
running multiple games.
That's true.
And I'm here for it. You know, so again, I'm a baby, right? I wasn't playing in the '80s and the old days of the boys club, and every time I say stuff like this, it's like, "Wow, we were diverse back then." Someone gets mad at me because it's always been inclusive, and like,
Yeah.
sure, cool, yes, but
Look,
uh,
tables were always individual. So like I could sit here
right,
and say just because my table back in the day consisted of four Jewish boys, myself, and an African American girl does not mean that all tables were that inclusive. So I mean, tables were all individual back in the day. I happened to play in a very inclusive time. Of course, we were all big dorks, and
right.
we had that in common. So,
And it
but
is a rallying cry for like the outsiders, right?
mm,
And I mean more so then, but even now, it's
oh,
yeah. But yeah, I whatever tangent.
yeah,
And I was actually like responding to things that were happening where you and I first connected, which we didn't talk about in part one, which I had meant to. It's on the note card, but and I don't know why I even write these things.
why write things
Um,
down? I told you, don't prep, right?
so I
Just
can
don't.
throw
There's no prep.
some light prep. I prep. But ooh, okay. Point of order. Mr. Rex did the video on the Steel Dragon,
Yes.
which I will link to if I might be out of cards, but it's down there. I've been pointing a lot today. Mr. Welsh did this awesome feat of cat herding. He
Oh
got
my God.
50 D&D YouTubers together to
Hmm.
celebrate the 50th anniversary, which just so happened to be his birthday as well, even though he didn't plan it that way. It took longer to edit 50 different crazy people talking about D&D.
It was also The Rock's birthday. Him and The Rock share a birthday.
Yes. And he would rather acknowledge that it's the right. He's a private man, it seems,
Yeah.
in some ways, for a person projecting himself on the internet all the time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that one, check it out. I've linked to it, but links again where the links go. Jason just put up, well, has put up by the time you're watching this, his part of that because it's a long. There's 50 people talking for 5 minutes apiece. It is a long trek.
It's a long video.
He did a great job. He indexed the whole thing too, which was
Oh yeah.
impressive. So you can go find your people. I suggest watching all of it because I discovered. I mean, there was like some people that made me smile because I hadn't thought of them for a while, and some of my favorites, and then a bunch of people that I had not known.
Hmm.
So I definitely discovered some channels in that process too. Cool video and cool to see everyone's take. But yours just went up by itself on your channel,
Yeah.
and in it you mentioned how you spent some time. I know you were downplaying it
Yeah.
in our interview, but like you were homeless for a minute,
I was.
which is a big thing.
Hmm.
And one of the few things that you managed to like hang on to physical possessions wise was your Ravenloft stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That. Yeah. I managed to. It was a pretty bleak time in my life, and I was without a home, and I did it on the down low. I actually didn't tell anybody.
mm,
So but yeah, the only I had the clothes on my back, a acoustic guitar, and my Ravenloft and D&D books, and that was all I had to my name for. It was this probably 3 or 4 months, which in the grand scheme of life, it's whatever. But no, it was homelessness. It was rough. But yeah, that was I learned I learned what I could, what was important, and
mm,
my Ravenloft books were just at the top of the list. But yeah, that's it was yeah, it was coming off of a particularly uh I don't know. I can't say it was a nasty divorce, but it was a divorce, and yeah, and lost my place of residence, lost the house, and then I some people would ask the question, why was I homeless? It's a long story, and but I was, and there's a lot of ins and outs, but yeah, I managed to hold on to the books, and that was about it. Um, but yeah, and even since then, when times have gotten tough, I've looked at them. I was like, I will never part with these things.
mm,
Just
mm.
can't. I just can't do it. Now, that's not to say I've never sold any books, but any of the Ravenloft books now, and I have a complete collection. I have the complete second edition. Finally, at the time I didn't. At the time I had maybe half of the books that had been produced for second edition, but now I've managed to complete the collection of all originals, and they're sitting back there. And it's
That's
nice.
quite
It's nice having primary sources. I love being able to have primary sources to look at,
well. That's a
physical
feat too,
copies of
because
books.
how many are we talking about? What's the
I
count
think
roughly? I don't mean to.
roughly 50, 52, 53, somewhere around there.
Yeah, people
Um,
might not know. Come if like a lot of which is whatever people on YouTube, but a lot of people in my audience are coming from a strictly fifth edition background.
mhm,
And I know for some of you, your favorite thing is Curse of Strahd, and perhaps for good reason.
mhm.
What you might not know is that they came out with Van Richten's and like, ooh, they actually did more. It's like Van Richten's is a compilation of pulled from a lot of old resources. There's 50 books
Yeah, and that's just insane.
out there, and
The
that's a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not including the third edition stuff, the 3.5 edition stuff that was uh, parted out to Art House and White Wolf. They did when Wizards of the Coast took over, they subbed out the production of Ravenloft stuff to White Wolf, and they put out not as much stuff, but the quality of the stuff that they put out in 3.5 was fantastic. I mean, as much as I love second edition stuff, I will admit that some of the lore and some of the timelines get janky at points. Like they don't have the cleanest through line through everything.
Mm,
But that's where a lot of people like the Ravenloft Cartography Association, and my friend Matt, um, who is known as Strahd's buddy. He runs the Cartography Association. He's done great work, sort of taking all the old lore and codifying it, and sort of moving some pieces around and um, creating maps and a timeline for the setting that kind of works with all the jankiness, all the rough edges smoothed off. So, and he and I are actually working on a project that is going to be coming out where he goes over the entire fixed timeline of Ravenloft and the formation of the core and how each domain came to be, and that's going to be a pretty interesting project. And he's working with me on that. So I don't know. I don't have a time when that's going to be at because he has a lot of other frying pans on the stove as I do. So, but it's like a long term project that we're working on. So that's going to be interesting when that finally comes out. So.
That sounds
Um,
really interesting. Is that going to
yeah,
be, is that a video that you're
yeah,
making, or is
yeah.
that
It's
going to
gonna
be
it's gonna be a
okay?
video. He's done the timeline already and all the map work, and he just has to figure out a way to put a narrative to it
Mm,
because
mm.
you gotta have. This isn't a lecture room. You gotta have a narrative. You know, nobody wants to be lectured to. You got to be
Give me,
entertaining.
give me
So that's
story.
yeah. Give me a story around it. Give me where's the juice? Where's the juice? So, but yeah, I guess I should probably mention before we get into this what's coming up, if that's okay.
So, yeah, what you got?
Yeah, so like the next thing I'm working on is a video on the loup-garou, which is a French-inspired werewolf, which is like a werewolf on
Mm,
steroids.
mm.
And for anybody out there who may not actually be interested in Ravenloft per se, I still recommend you watch if you want to watch the videos, these creatures that I cover can be taken and used in your home game. They don't have to sit in Ravenloft. So I give you enough background and enough story and all this stuff that you can take it and use it at your table. I've done a video on the creature called the ghost cat, which is a cursed cat, which was pretty fun. And then there was a werefox named Angel Pajaro, who was a opera singer.
Mm.
And so the ones that take a look if you can. They don't have to just sit in Ravenloft. Um, and as a matter of fact, during the end of running the 2E, they actually made the Ravenloft name not as prominent on their supplements so that they could sell them to people who ran Forgotten Realms or ran other campaigns as well. So they stopped saying it was like Ravenloft specific, and the name Ravenloft is actually a lot smaller on the supplements, and it's just Dungeons and Dragons up top. So they realized they were competing against themselves, so they started
Mm.
putting these things out like, well, you can use them someplace else. So yeah, so watch them. If you feel so inclined. Yeah.
They've overcorrected in like the one true edition to rule them all right
Hmm.
now. But you see how they got there because in the past TSR went the other way, much to
Oh yeah.
potentially to their demise.
Yeah, but
Um,
it is it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Man, they put out some content. Like like there's so much stuff out there, but it sunk them as a company because
mhm,
they just ended up competing against themselves because it was which so I understand why now in fifth edition we get sort of like a setting book. We get a Eberron book, we get a Ravenloft book, we get a Dragonlance book because they're not going to go and put out five Dragonlance books or five Eberron books because then not everybody's into those settings. So,
right, right.
we'll get one yeah, here and there, but yeah, we're not gonna get the dearth of products like we used to. That's what the DMs Guild's for,
Right, and you
you
could
know?
and you could find a lot of the I think all I might be speaking out of turn here. I think all of the second edition stuff,
A lot of it.
a
You can
lot of it is
yeah.
available on the DM's Guild for I
Mhm.
mean as a PDF, but fa-
There
fairly
are
affordable.
there are a few hard you can buy a few hard copies. I think some of the
Oh,
more popular books you can. But yeah, everything's available for PDF. And if you are running a fifth edition game, it isn't too hard to take those stories and transmute them to fifth edition. So it's not that difficult. And if you're interested in that, you just follow me and let me know what you want to see. I feel weird plugging my channel, even though that's what
no,
I'm here
do
for.
it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah. I mean
So
that's the part of the name of the game.
that's true.
But the real game is make a character. So
All right.
do
I'm ready. Obviously,
you have some dice handy?
I
You have
do.
your world building outfit on.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to ask you to roll one of everything. D20, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And we're gonna build
12.
a
12, that's my
character.
favorite. I'm using my cheese dice, my camembert. There's a little
Mm.
D20. I don't know if anybody can see them.
Yeah, there you go.
They're
Ooh.
cheese dice. Um, I actually took a chance. Like this is one thing Facebook Marketplace has ever sold me. I'm like, cheese dice? Yes. I will buy them.
They got
Okay.
you.
Alrighty, Ryan, we are rolled, sir.
All right. So you first out of the gate, you chose Explorer.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say this we are building your character. I'm gonna collaborate with you, but this is your thing. Don't feel like you're gonna break my stuff or misspeak or whatever. Run with it. You got an idea,
Okay.
say it. If you roll the thing and you see a better one on the table for your whatever, that is okay. If you roll the thing and you're like, oh, that would be better if, that's also okay. It's kind of doing its job. Even if you're
Okay.
like, that's stupid, it should have been cool, great. I'm happy with that. So you chose Explorer, which is an exciting one.
Yeah, I felt like it was on brand too.
Uh, Say more about that. How so? I mean, not that
Oh,
I'm not
because
questioning it, but what?
it just myself. I kind of feel that I am an explorer of older lore.
Mm,
As with the channel and just me digging up the past. So I
mm,
kind of felt like exploration is in my bones. So it kind of felt like something I should go with.
I like that. We're right out of the gate. We're bringing like a time element to it too that I would not
Yeah.
have necessarily. All right. So the first
All
thing is,
right.
what is our motivation, our drive, our dream, aspiration? What did you get on our
All right.
D20?
So on the D20, I've got an 8.
Eight. To track down the truth behind the legends. I mean, that
Ah, love
slots
it.
very nicely with what you just said. Yeah. What does that
Hmm.
make you think of?
Oh, that makes me think of somebody who has found out that the truth and the reality of where they're living in the land is not what they've been told, and they maybe have a glimmer of this little nugget of some hidden truth. And they're gonna dedicate their life spiraling down a rabbit hole of discovery,
Hmm.
come hell or high water. They won't stop until they've found out the truth that's in the legend, for good or bad. Maybe the truth that monster in a cave is just a rabbit with indigestion. But no matter what, they're gonna find the truth out. Yeah,
And yeah, and I got this little like
something like
shading
that.
in there of like the implicit falsehood that has
Mhm.
been spread and
Yes.
perpetrated, and maybe they bought into it first,
Hmm.
and now they're bouncing off of. I
Possibly,
like that.
some they've been working a small farm their whole life and pulling shards of metal 4 feet out of the ground, and their family's like, oh, don't worry about that, that's nothing, that's don't worry about that. And they find that there's a collection of these metal shards in their father's basement, and then what is all this stuff? And you're like, you're told never to go down there, and it's some sort of metal from a past civilization that used to be pervasive in the land where they're at and has been all but wiped from history. Something like that.
Uh, Great, man.
A
Archaeology.
Nithralese city. They've found the top of their island isn't actually an island. It's a flipped over Nithralese mountaintop. Yeah. Oh, there's a Forgotten Realms for you.
I do. I like Forgotten Realms. I'm not a Forgotten
Mhm.
Realms hater, but yeah, flying cities, baby. That
Yeah.
stuff crashed into the earth. That's
Oh,
maybe the best
Nithral.
part as far as I'm concerned.
It is. I do like Forgotten Realms, but I like Forgotten Realms around 13 something. But and the Nithral Empire Nithral is awesome. It's amazing. If anybody, and this is another thing for anybody playing Fifth Edition Forgotten Realms, go dig into the Forgotten Realms history. Like if you think there's a lot of like Ravenloft history, Forgotten Realms is,
Mm.
and the nice thing is these people are still out there. Like Ed Greenwood still does a podcast.
He'll answer your
So
question. You can you
yeah,
can you
he'll
can tweet at or whatever. You
right.
can go find him on whatever social media is not on fire right now and
Right, and you can go
talk to
ask him
him.
questions, and
And
he'll
he knows the answer. My man's been
yes,
writing nonstop for 30 years, and I mean, I'm sure he has to look up things once in a while, but like
sure.
he has an encyclopedic knowledge of all of this stuff, which is
These people are out
inspirational.
there. They're great resources, and go seek them out, ask them questions. They're still very open to talking about these things that they created. So
Yeah,
definitely,
I've seen him go
bug the
like
heck out of them and tell them I didn't send you. I don't.
the dude's on
Yeah,
YouTube. Go check out Ed Greenwood.
yeah.
He's doing better than I am. For good cause. All right, D12. Our
D12.
I already got this like almost just Star Wars vibe of farmer in the hinterlands maybe. But
Oh,
what is our call to action here?
yeah.
Our call
I
to
didn't even consider
adventure.
that. So we got another 8 here.
Oh, two eights. A previous life of enforced seclusion. That's exactly what you were. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, that we kind of just covered that. Yeah, it's secluded away in a far off town where the only thing it's a it's an adventure just to travel to the next town to hawk some wares, and um, your whole life has been lived within this 2 square mile, 3 mile radius, and then just you have no idea what's out there beyond the trees, beyond the valley, beyond the mist that rises up every year and encompasses the town. Just off there, just on the edge of the page. But you've always lived in this one little area, and
Hmm.
yeah, previous life of enforced seclusion. Yeah, and you've always been told that there's nothing out there worth discovering. Everything you need is right here. There's nothing to be found out there. Nothing good anyway. You know, perhaps a family member wandered off at one point and came back, and he doesn't like to talk about it, but he's missing a leg from whatever he encountered out there. There's nothing good out there. There's nothing for you. Yeah.
I love that a
What other
lot, and
stuff?
I love a good character who's like curious and capable of awe and wonder, who
Mm-hmm.
is like, so often it's like I slayed 12 dragons before I got here at level one.
Oh,
But like I grew up on a farm and never traveled more than 3 miles, and like what's this guy's deal? I've never seen a dragonborn. What's your
right.
deal,
Yeah,
fellow player
what are you
character? Like
doing? Yeah.
what is going on here? Like, oh man, that right away you're driving story in
I've
the
always wanted to
direction.
play a character that had an absolutely wonderful home life, whose parents were extremely supportive, and like it never had a like cause to adventure, and then just all of a sudden, just throws the knapsack over his back, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see what's out there, mom and dad. Thanks for the support. All let us know when you hit a town by courier. We'll send you some whatever gold pieces we have. Just like a very very nice support system. It's just very naive." Yeah, just goes out there for the heck of it instead of having this tragic backstory,
And
you
it's like the
know?
most interesting, edgiest thing you can do in a party full of mysterious, dark strangers who
Everybody's
don't
sitting there
trust anything. You're like,
broody.
hey
Yeah.
guys, what's going
Hey,
on?
what's going on? Hey,
I hear
hey,
this
what's
adventuring thing is cool.
hey, what's over those mountains over there? Thunk arrow. Oh, well, looks like I got shot in the shoulder. What do I do about that? Yeah, yeah. That's in a world of edge lords. Be open and welcoming.
God, yes.
All right. D.
Speaking of D8,
Mm-hmm.
is potential character arc. It's a nice, if you have a sense of like how your character can change, you can kind of like lean into the opposite a little bit out of the gate.
Hmm.
The story is going to dictate this more than I think,
So
session zero, but
so I got a 7,
okay.
which is uncovering personal connections to the past. A little bit of main character energy, but I'll go with it.
Well,
I like it.
it's always got to be, but
That's
I mean,
true.
that's right on theme with like,
Hmm. Yeah.
where did your people come from? Like maybe you're the survivors of this
Right. Yeah.
catastrophe that plummeted this, you know,
Maybe you get out there and let's say he's a halfling. We haven't. I don't think we've gotten into that. But let's
your
say he
character,
is, and
baby.
let's say he gets out there and he gets past the towners, starts to notice that everybody's much taller than him. His whole life, he's been told that this is everybody's your height, and he goes out there and discovers this whole world of tall people, and they're just as shocked to see him because there's supposedly this lost civilization of halflings that were
Mm.
destroyed, and maybe he finds out that his town is this like last pocket of I don't know, halfling seafarers or oh no, maybe the metal in the ground is from a oh, the ships, the hang on, Spelljammer. There we go. Maybe it's
Oh,
a maybe he's a
mm.
crashed refugees from a buried spelljamming ship that was buried in the town that this town grew up around, but he's not from his whole family and the whole town is not from here, and they've been pocketed away forever. In this land, and he discovered, going out and meeting people, he discovers that he's part of a lost, lost tribe of people. There's, I mean, kind of interesting.
Very interesting. I like just because of how the way my stupid brain works. I was like, he's the tallest guy he knows.
Yeah,
He was the tallest guy in the village, right?
yeah.
He was the guy who like they would get to like get the stuff on the top shelf or whatever, and then he goes out into the world and like the average person is twice his height. I
Yeah, I
love
like
that.
that.
And then
Uh,
like
His whole worldview shattered.
yeah, it's got to be difficult for him at first.
Hmm.
But then this again, this idea of like you said time right out of the gate. Now the dice are like reiterating it to us. Like there's this idea of like maybe the legends of the wee folk, right?
Hmm.
These little people that he grew up with, and they're like whatever. They're the ones who like came from the sky and started everything, and you're like, that's nonsense. And then you go out and you're like, oh, I'm the wee folk, you know,
I
like
I'm the little
whoa,
people.
yeah,
I'm the spacefaring person who's not from around here that's not supposed to exist.
yeah. And it's a cool reversal of like it's a little main character-y, but so is
Mhm.
every D&D character maybe.
All
But
right.
like the you know, I came from a boring place, right? And like I want to go explore and adventure and discover. And like in that process realize like, oh, I come from the most interesting place ever. It's
Right.
just we there's a taboo against digging.
Right. Yeah. See that's I may have to actually I don't know what your plans are with this, but this is actually kind of shaping up to be kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah, well
I
again,
may have to steal this for something.
it's yeah, it's your character. This so the game master's compendium of explosive creation is almost complete. There a lot of people have gotten their hands on it through Kickstarter.
Hmm.
There's I made the mistake of thinking it would go faster and faster and faster, like some things do.
Right.
But in fact it took longer and longer and longer to come up with interesting ideas that were different than the last interesting ideas.
It's
Live
things
and learn.
always take twice as long
Well, I
than
thought it
you
was
think they're
smart.
going
I
to.
thought I gave myself plenty of time because I didn't want to be that guy who showed up late to the Kickstarter. But
Whoops.
everybody does, and there's good reasons.
Yeah.
But this will soon be available for everybody on Drive Through RPG and maybe other places too.
Nice.
But there's 50 of these archetypes and some other cool stuff there.
Man,
All right,
how long does that take to get out, right? I mean, that's a lot of work. 50 archetypes?
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
because I'm preoccupied is maybe not the right word, but I am invested in making them all distinct.
Hmm.
I wanted a ton of variety, and when you start to, it gets a little hair splitty at the end,
Hmm.
and those are interesting problems to solve, right? What's the difference between like there's a soldier and there's a gladiator
Right.
and there's a warrior, and it's like okay, those are very similar things, and I could have just lumped them together,
Hmm.
but what makes them different is interesting, but is takes a lot of
Hmm.
mental energy.
There's a
So
lot of minutia.
there's
Yeah,
a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of.
minutia, which I love, and I think it's something you pile enough of it together, and then you turn it into an oracle. Like you get, I've done this with a bunch of people now. I've done a lot of play testing, and it's interesting one to watch. This especially someone with a creative mind, like you come to it and like
Hmm.
bring your whole just all of your references and ideas and opinions to it, but also like rolling on the same table and getting a completely different result. Like you would think every explorer is going to feel very similar, but already we have a very interesting character that like I wouldn't have come up with on my own, and I wrote
And,
this thing.
and then just looking at some of the other options, and I'm not willing to jump to something else, like, but it does seem very varied, widely varied. Like I could see rolling on the. Yeah, I can't imagine coming up with the same explorer just looking at some of these options. You've done a very good job at varying, making each one feel specific and doesn't feel like there's a lot of overlap
Thank you,
with
and that's
stuff.
why
So
it's taken so freaking long.
yeah,
Sorry, everybody, but
no, it's never
uh,
apologize for getting something right and taking the time to have it come out at least 80% of how you want it to.
I
Because
believe. Well,
I can guarantee you,
spoken like a true writer. You know what?
yeah, it's never
Yeah.
no project is ever completed. They're just abandoned.
Yes.
And that's I all right, I'm done. Just get it out. Like, uh, number four.
This is the first time I have crowdfunded something. So I have sold this to people
Mm,
and told them I would give it to them, and I've been giving it to them piecemeal, and everyone has been very supportive and satisfied, and that's been deeply gratifying to me. But
well,
I do
satisfaction.
feel responsible for finishing, and it's almost done. I got a few more to write. Those get proofed. I did the formatting. That was the thing I did not know much about, book layouts and such. Got some software, learned all that stuff. So yeah, it's been coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're kind of crossing a small threshold here, going into more of the world building side of
Mm.
things. So our D4 here is going to be our friendly faction. Maybe we
S-
belong to them, maybe we have an association with them, but what you get on your D4.
So I have a two.
Mhm.
And armchair adventure, scholars who study and meet to discuss ancient cultures. I love
Yeah,
that.
you're getting yeah, this
That's
is
good.
right on theme, right on
Yeah,
theme.
maybe there's one or two like that. The halfling with one leg. that's living out there at the edge, dude, constantly staring off into the veil, who's got books about what may lie out there, and but they're hidden away, and for the most part, mostly everybody ignores him, except
Mm.
for one or two people. Maybe I've seen him coming in and out of his house, and he eyes me from a distance and shuts the door and hobbles back inside. But one day I get the courage to go knock on his door, and I hear this gunk, gunk, and that's the sound of his one peg leg hitting the floor as he crosses and kicks the door open. What do you want? Password, swordfish. Slams the door in my face. I don't see him for another week and a half, but eventually I get the courage to come back. And like, what's the password? Not swordfish. And he opens the door and lets me in. And then, yeah, slowly I have to gain his respect, and by doing favors for him, like reaching the top shelf, or volunteering to run a half 5K in his stead,
Oof.
something like that. Eventually gain his trust, and he opens up one small book that's got this extended map of these lands I've never seen before. And I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "That's New Jersey."
Yeah.
Something like that.
The land of shadow.
The land is Wyoming. It's Italian for nothing grows there. Uh, um, I know, little fair similitude aside. Yeah, maybe introduces me to a bunch of his friends who have also, done studying, and maybe just they're a little, they just don't want anything to do with it anymore, and they pass on this knowledge to me, and like push me out the door, something like that.
This sounds really good. And I think so. And the reason I start with factions instead of people is because a faction, as you travel, you can still
Hmm.
interact with.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the
Maybe
idea
he
of like
has.
these people
Maybe
out in
he
the world and you're the wee person that's in their book and like, whoa, you're
Right. Maybe he has some relatives or former allies that he every once in a while gets a letter from, and I have letters. He has letters from the people out there who send him notes about what's out there, and they've developed ways of disguising themselves to remain hidden. And maybe as I travel, I have contacts in cities who've disguised themselves as like kobolds, or disguised themselves as like trash people. Just or maybe one that wears like a wolf costume that's taking up residence in somebody's house as a dog, a house pet or something. Just random things that are out there that I could go and stay with these people as another dog. I have to find like I have to go skin a wolf and walk around on all fours to avoid detection, and go meet up with
oh, God, I love this idea of this like secret network of the halflings out there
halflings.
of like, yeah, there's like the three of them in a trench coat
Mhm. Yeah.
with like broom hands and like, yeah,
Like you
oh,
go into a restaurant somewhere, and there's like supposedly like this he's a creature with 6 arms. He's the best cook we've ever had, and it turns out to be three halflings standing on top of each other. And they've created this harness that links them all together, and they sort of work in unison, but nobody's ever seen him without his chef whites on. And
and I
just
just it really appeals to I don't even know which part of me to like take something so vanilla and core, right? Halflings are just people, maybe get some hobbit, like I like food, and like to make them this exotic thing that's like, oh, that makes me so
and
happy.
and
I,
nobody
I love
believes
that.
they exist.
No,
And
yeah, there and there's
meanwhile, they're just
legend.
this group of halflings is sort of like pervasive in culture, just existing there as like these, you know, just banal, run of the mill things out there, and just waiting, absorbing all this information, and really doing nothing with it ever. Just sitting on it, like maybe maybe their cult is like a cult of bureaucracy, and they have to fill out paperwork anytime they want to interact, and like none of the requests for interaction have come back. Maybe that's what maybe I find the requests for interaction in this guy's basement, and he hasn't been able to get out to say yay or nay, and I have to travel the world and disseminate, take a look at people's requests, and like years down the line somebody comes and I look at it like, no, you're denied, you can't interact with people, and they're like, God darn it, send this back to him. And I was like, oh boy, this nobody's
there's
gonna
a
play this game.
there's a well, there's a magic item coming up, and I think I'm gonna replace it with just like a big rubber stamp. Um,
Yes.
the bureaucrat. All right,
Bureaucrat.
D6. We're to drill down to a friendly NPC.
All right. I have one.
One.
Steed Windrider, tamed and rode a griffin, has had a bird's eye view of the territory. I love it because who would be able to better suited to ride a griffin? than a halfling with a peg leg.
Oh, it's the same guy.
It's
This
the
is okay.
same
So this is
guy.
Steve. This is Steve. Yeah. Maybe that's how we lost the leg, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is from the first griffin I tamed. I lost my leg. He just he recovered it and he uses it as a riding crop for all the for all the other griffins. This this is this is this is my left foot. Sorry.
No, it's we can get Gonzo, man. I'm here for it. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's buckle up. I love the idea of like, yeah, and this eventually you win this guy over because he's, grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one person in the village who's seen beyond. He's
Seen
seen
beyond. Yeah.
beyond the mists on the outskirts, and because he's gotten up in the sky.
Maybe the griffin got tired of getting beat, which is why all these requests for interaction can't get back to people. Because he used
Mm.
to take the griffin and go respond to these
Mm.
requests, but the griffin is long since taken off. Maybe I have to go back into the mountains to find a griffin and offer him some pie or something to come back to Steed and return the griffin to Steed. Yeah, that's one of the core quests.
Exactly. You can see right away. Like, and yeah, if
It writes itself.
it writes itself. It writes
Yeah.
itself. And if like, hey, like yeah. I mean, so sometimes when we go far afield, like you need dungeon master buy-in here if you're if
Mm-hmm.
you're building a player character. Like, hey,
Well,
is
sure.
it cool if halflings are weird? Or
Mm-hmm.
my kind of halfling? And they're like, oh no, well, halflings are this really important thing, but gnomes are pretty undeveloped. You could be a
Yeah.
gnome and compromise.
See, again, being a forever DM, like I know I'm creating a player character, but I feel like we have a seed for a pretty interesting campaign world here.
Oh well, that's
You
kind
know.
of the idea. The idea is to make both to connect to the two. And honestly,
Mhm.
this is an NPC generator too.
Yeah.
You're forever DM, and you're like, I need them to meet someone interesting, or they hire a guide, and you're like, I don't really have any ideas for what it is. This some weird griffin riding peg legged halfling comes out.
Named
Um,
Steed, Steed Windrider.
Steed Windrider at your service.
I love it.
All right, this is the one where it actually kind of matters what you roll. So what do we get on the
Okay.
D10? Where
So
it all matters, but what big number good is the only one here.
so on the D10, I have a 10.
Whoa! All right. So in theory, you might have pulled the best one.
Mm.
You got the survivalist rod. Conjures food and drink, can cure disease, poison, and exhaustion. Oh, that's a whole toolkit. Some DMs in certain exploration campaigns would be pissed
Well, yeah.
if you showed up with that. But in
Oh, for
5e,
exploration campaigns? Oh yeah. That's
mhm,
this is the equivalent of my bag of holding trick
yeah, yeah, yeah.
back in the day. I don't want to track encumbrance, so I
Mhm.
don't want you to carry food. Here, take this. No, I like it though. I like it. Can the rod be made of Steed's peg leg and I have to steal it from him? And this
Uh,
creates a whole problem. I
Seems
gotta
like a
find
good
him a new
place to hide
crop.
it. Well,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. So if you're rolling these, because I've started campaigns with this thing, and if like
Hmm.
somebody rolls something like, oh, that's gonna throw things off of balance, and it's not because the dungeon master can't counterbalance it
Hmm.
on their side of the screen, but among the players, if you have a trinket and you have whatever equivalent of a fifth level spell,
Hmm.
I can't really help this person feel like they're getting as much spotlight or
Right.
as cool. So you don't necessarily start with the thing. You know what is out there. Maybe this is part of the legends that you've unearthed that you're searching for. And hey, dungeon master, here's my magic item wish list, and I'm willing to go on a magical MacGuffin chase to get it. Cool, awesome player. Let's thank you. Let's go.
If you were to make me switch it out, I do
Mhm.
like 6 as an option.
What you
If
got?
you the satchel of traveling mat, extra dimensional bag that holds much while remaining light.
Ooh,
I'm a
so you're
fan.
do
I'm
you,
a
do you, do you remember Uncle? Is it Uncle Traveling Matt? Traveling Uncle Matt?
traveling Uncle Matt. Oh yeah. Uh, the Gobo Wembley River Red. It's
Yeah.
yeah. The Fraggle Rock.
I
Yeah.
don't remember Fraggle Rock, but I remember the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to say it together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Traveling Matt. My travels took me. Oh yeah. I love Fraggle Rock. That was that was a good one. But I mean, if you want me to keep the survivalist rod, I'd be okay with
No,
that.
I
Or
mean
or your
you can
adventure
have
for it.
the bag. I mean, yeah, I might like in that situation if I was trying to run a more exploration based campaign,
Mm-hmm.
which I think if someone was rolling an explorer would be suitable.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Just like half the stuff I made has been about making exploration interesting in 5e. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Talk about a unsupported pillar. Oh, I love a hex crawl. I
Uh,
love I love
oh, we
overland
didn't.
hex crawl.
We talked about a bunch of other games, but or systems or whatever. But I'm running Dolmenwood. I just started it, so it's not even finished yet.
Hmm.
But Gavin Norman. Now I'm second guessing that, but the gentleman who wrote Old School Essentials, which
Hmm.
is well regarded. It's basically his homeworld that he's been making for 10 years, and it is brilliant, just like that, like folkloric before it gets Disneyfied, where everything
Hmm.
is like whimsical and terrifying. There's some you could fit some Ravenlofty elements into it, but oh, it's so good. It's this beautiful, tight little forest text scroll that you could explore for 30 campaigns and never run out of ideas.
Nice.
So good. Dolman would highly endorse.
I'll have to I'll have to make a note of that and take a
Yeah,
look at it.
it's so good. It is so good. I'm eventually gonna make videos out of it. And I really like to like sink my teeth into a thing before I talk
Oh yeah.
about it authoritatively because we're on a screen and we seem important and stuff.
Yeah,
So
right. We
I
have
like
to
to know.
pretend that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I like to. I don't. Yeah.
I
Maybe
mean,
too
I'm
much
sorry. I
actually.
mean, we have to be prepared to know what we're talking about. I guess that's what I should say.
I had to do the prep.
Yep.
So in a situation, if you pulled the survivalist rod, I would 100%. I could see a scenario where I'm like, yes, you know that it's out there.
Mhm.
You absolutely do not get to have it at level one. However, you know it exists, and in the meantime, you're gonna inherit Uncle Traveling Matt's bag of holding.
Nice. I take that.
Perfect, and everybody's happy. Um, okay, cool. So
All
how
right.
you feeling about this character? Did you walk in
Um.
with a name? Do you have a certain like a class?
I'm.
There's some blank spots here still.
So yeah, I think we should. I think we should keep them. Um. I kind of like it the way So I I like to have a through line with my characters that
Hmm.
I play. Either a similar name or some sort. And I'm a huge fan of using the name Tremblefoot for a surname for the end of it. But I can't use Wilson Tremblefoot because Wilson Tremblefoot has already been taken. But I would like to maybe use like maybe Shelby Tremblefoot or
Mhm.
yeah, and that's the name of my rabbit, by the way. Actually,
Oh,
is the name of my rabbit. So, and I named it after I named her after my first character. But I just like the Tremblefoot. You know, it feels strong.
it's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Um.
And it's an explorer. It's a wanderer's name. It's an
Mm,
adventurer's name. I
I
used to
think
have a
so.
rabbit named Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, nice. Benedict. I've had several. One of the more out there was named George Orr. I don't know if you know what
That
who
rings a
George Orr
that rings
was.
a bell, but actually I don't know the reference off the top of my head.
Let's see. Uh,
I think it's that one.
Ursula K. Le Guin, Lathe of Heaven. The main
Uh,
character's name is George Orr, um, but it is also um, George Orwell. It was taken
mm,
from George Orwell.
I think that's maybe what that's the spark of recognition, and I was like, oh wait, no, not Orwell.
Mhm. But yeah,
Um,
it's and but so
I've read like two or three of the Earthsea, and that's really all the Le Guin I've read, and she's on my list. She's a great writer.
Yeah, I saw a PBS special movie of that when I was real young. My father made me watch it. It was about somebody who has effective dreams, and I don't want to spoil it, but they remade it for the Sci-Fi Channel back in 2000s. It was not anywhere near as good. Um, I can't remember the actor's name, blonde curly haired guy from the late 70s. But
I'm not your
if you
guy
have
on
a chance,
actor names.
it's actually free on YouTube if anybody wants to take a look at it.
Wait, the good one or the crappy one?
Oh, the good one, the good
Okay.
one. Yeah, I mean, it's good as in the movie itself is good, but the quality of the digital rip is a little bit poorer.
Oh.
But it
Well,
the way
I
it's
would never endorse piracy, but
oh it's
support your public
so
public broadcasting stations
it was
are
it was a
treasures.
PBS thing, and
Yeah,
it was never released or anywhere. So it's not like it's not technically piracy
cool.
because it's not. I mean, I don't know if it's piracy or not, but you're not buying it. It's just I don't know who put it up on YouTube. PBS
Mhm.
put it up on YouTube. I mean, they
Boom,
put
there
it
you
up.
go.
Sure,
Perfect. Nice.
we'll go with that.
Yar.
But
Okay,
yeah,
so we're gonna switch hats. Oh, you can keep your hat actually, because now
all
we're
right,
going into the world building side
nice.
of things. Now, depending on your game, maybe you are working collaboratively as a team, or maybe this is a separate page because maybe the player doesn't see this side of things. But we're going to harness those old school roots. We're going to roll 4d6. You can roll them separate if it makes it easier for you to
I'll just grab four.
uh, keep track of them.
All right, 4d6s.
4d6s.
All righty. All right, done and done.
Cool. Our first d6 is going to be our antagonistic organization, a faction that is maybe presenting us with challenges.
Okay, so let's. Well, I'm gonna. Oh, see, now I'm cheating. Now I looked up and now I'm gonna. All right. Well, so two of them are sixes. All right,
You
let's go with
have
one
you
of the
have you
sixes.
have publicly admitted to fudging, so I will allow
That's true.
it.
All right. We're gonna go with the six for that one.
Okay. Six is toll house wardens, guards that patrol the roads and collect steep fees for it from travelers. Pretty classic.
No,
Yeah.
I like that. Like you get far enough out, maybe there's a group of people who um hmm sorry. Now I'm looking at some of these other ones.
Oh, second
Oh,
guessing. What do you got? You got a better one?
oh
I'll
yeah. I
let
have a
you.
four here. Can I switch it with a four?
I usually don't do this, but yes.
Okay, all right.
Only because you picked a Terry Pratchett one. Yes,
Yes,
Discworlders.
Discworld. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes,
They
yes, yes,
kind of
yes.
stuck right out at me there.
Go for it. Read it after me.
Discworlders, irrationally believe the world has an edge and crossing it will upset the gods. See, that works because you
That
could
totally works.
maybe have people in the town who are like, you can't go beyond these ring of trees because there's nothing out there. You're just going to fall off the edge, and that mist that rises up is just the trees that have fallen over, that have hit in the ground thousands and thousands of feet down, have created this plume of dust that rises up, and that's proof right there that you're going to fall off just like those trees, and you may not travel past that line. It's just, this whole town is just bordering on a disc. So I think it works.
That's perfect. So yeah, and I think that's
Move that four off
instructive.
the
There's
side.
no, I'm not going to be there when you use it unless I am because you're on the show. But even if I am, you can like, especially if you buy this thing from me, it is yours. Rip it up and tear it for use it for spare parts. I don't like
Parts.
use it. However, I have. So I haven't finalized the layout. We were talking about that, but I am toying with the idea of putting all the tables first, and then on page 101 the introduction and the instructions and stuff because like
Hmm.
however there's no wrong way to use this stuff.
All right.
um
That is a very novel idea.
it is. I don't know if it's appealing. I don't know if it's
I,
stupid.
I don't know if it's smart, but
I
it's
don't
a
know if it's
novel
smart.
idea.
It's
Yeah.
novel. I got a lot
It's
of novel ideas.
yeah.
They're not all good ones. That's why I give you so many because something's got to stick, right?
That could actually be one of the worst ideas you've had, but it is very novel.
It's interesting, right? It's
Yeah.
interesting. I think I'm just gonna I think it's gonna be on page one. I'm gonna mention that I wasn't gonna put it on page one. I think that's the compromise.
Yeah. I
uh
wasn't gonna do this, but
and also
uh,
you could, there's nothing saying you can't, like the Discworlders are in your town and eventually you overcome them. And I don't know, maybe there's complications and consequences for that follow you throughout the campaign. But down
oh.
the road, you can just throw these Toll House Wardens.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll
uh,
keep the wardens there, a little bit further
Yeah.
down. I
Yeah.
just, I'm thinking something closer to the first steps out into this larger world.
Yeah.
To have a patrol that close to the town is kind of antithetical to the situation we've created in town.
Right.
They'd have to
Right.
be the wardens would have to be a little bit further out. But yeah, but the Discworlders definitely in town.
Oh, God, I
In,
love it. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Select another D6
okay,
for a rival or enemy NPC.
so that we'll go. Let's move the one to there. So we'll
Move
take
the
what that. That'll
one
be
to
the one.
there. Okay. So that is
Mhm.
what if Thurton Howell, a competitive explorer who tries to claim all new discoveries as his own. I love him already.
Yes.
I want to play him. That's my favorite kind of NPC.
Yes, Present. Oh, see here, boy. That's, all that out there beyond the trees is mine. If you ever get out there, I used to, I used to run with, the guy on his griffin. I know the secrets out there. That's all my stuff out there.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I like Thurston Howell. Oh, that's good.
Perfect.
I like how you spelled Hal.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Mm,
gotta flavor fantasy it up a
mm,
little bit here and there.
very good.
Um, yeah, and yeah, and like sometimes like little details like that, like, no, this guy's secretly a lycanthrope because I watched your video and now I want one in my campaign. Like,
Nice.
and I
Uh,
love I like these like annoying NPCs that you can't necessarily just like, this isn't a combat. Like this is a rival. It's not an
mm-hmm.
enemy. Like maybe they're secretly the BBEG of the campaign or whatever, but just like this guy sucks, but if I killed him, that would be real bad. Like
Yeah, yeah. He's more annoying than anything else.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. I've had quite a
Um
few of those presented for my players, and they treat him as such, just an annoyance. But like, you can't kill him, But we just had to deal with him.
yeah, perfect. Oh, and then eventually, maybe they kill him.
Yeah, eventually, maybe. I had a whole
What
family. I
else?
had a whole family of related NPCs show up in one of my campaigns. The ship tanks. There was a there was Raymond Ship Tank. There was a but anyway. But anytime they came across somebody with a last name Ship Tank, they were like, God, don't tell me there's another one. Some of them were
Uh,
nicer and easy to get along with than others. Some of them were really big pains in the ass. It just and they all Sundin Ship Tank. There's they were all over the place, all over the map, and but they were all related. Anybody with the last name Ship Tank was related in the campaign. I drove the players crazy with that. And
I love it. Now, it's not every bartender, but a lot of taverns out there are run by an exposition, which
mm.
I stole. I think I forget what the original, but like Jimothy, I think is the grandfather in my world because there's been so many generations of just Tommy. I think Tommy Exposition was the
And
first one.
their last name is Exposition.
It's Exposition because
That's
I stole it from Glass Cannon
Basil.
podcast
Oh, okay.
because he was just like he came up with the name on the fly and it was just like old timey transatlantic like I don't know
Oh,
Johnny Exposition. This is like
oh.
I this is mine now and now there's just generations of expositions.
I think
Uh,
there was in one of the Mike Myers Austin Powers
mm.
wasn't one of the names Basil Exposition? I can't
Oh
remember. I
yes,
I
yes,
think.
yes, 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 yes. Maybe yeah. That
But I
sounds
mean,
right.
it's not to take anything away from Glass Cannon, but
But
that's I don't even know if the two are linked, but I think his name was Exposition as well.
yeah,
But
I love a good like winky. I mean, they're
oh
all
yeah,
over this. Like, I don't quite love a pun, but I love meta commentary.
they are.
Um, all right, D6. This is going to be an evocative location. Sometimes, we have to like it doesn't quite fit, and I like those because that kind of is my route to connect this to somebody else's. Because in theory, if I got 4 or 5 characters at the table, I find the location is where I can like plunk something in somebody else's something. Um,
So I got a two, which is crazy considering
mm,
my love of this adventure.
ah,
Uh,
yes.
Sunken Citadel, mythical lost city filled with wonders discovered at the bottom of the sea. Oh,
So the
maybe there might
sun
be a meepo there.
we've waxed poetic about the sunless citadel, and
Hmm.
I have and half of my I've run it 3 times, and half the time never on purpose, but I call it the sunken citadel.
Me
So
too. Yeah,
yeah.
I always call it the Sunken Citadel, and also I ported the entire Citadel over into one of my campaign worlds. Same milieu, and see, I always considered it Sunken Citadel because it's down at the bottom of a crevice,
Right.
and so that's why I've always just called it the Sunken Citadel. So like half the time, I believe that's what the adventure is called. So I'm right there with you. And like personally, I wonder if it wasn't a mistake in the printing era where they called it Sunken Citadel, because I mean Sunless Citadel,
There's
because
like the tree at the end, I think
yeah, the
is
Gulf
the
Ice tree and
vampires vibes. Like it's there, but by the time you get there, like who would know that it's the sunless citadel?
right, but s-
That's one of my favorite world building tricks is like not everybody uses the same word for everything, right? And
mhm,
the module is called Sunless Citadel, but like the people who live in the I forget what the town is called because I've never actually run it from the book
Oakhurst,
town. Oakhurst, thank you.
yeah, Oakhurst,
But like they don't call it the Sunless Citadel. They call it the Gap. I don't know. There's a hole in the ground
yeah.
over there, and sometimes goblins come out. They're not going to call it the Sunless Citadel. They're gonna that's a fucking goblin hole. I don't know. Stay
There's a
away from there.
crevice over there, great big old crevice in the ground over there.
And like that stuff makes it feel like realistic to me, where it's just like different names for the same thing, and that
Hmm.
gives the players a chance to discover. So like, oh, this is the same. These dots connect. Yeah.
Hmm. Do your players rename your NPCs for you?
Well, 1,000%, 100. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
all the time.
I hope I'm the only one that gets rolled over like that. Like they just rename my NPCs all the time, and I just go with
Mhm.
it. I'm like, do you remember it? And you're like, yeah, I mean, that's what his name is now. That's fine.
Yeah,
It's not.
again, you're outnumbered, and
Yeah,
as long as it's funny or better.
yeah.
Uh,
Or it's not affecting anything. It doesn't. As long as they have an easy time, remember it. And like the one advice to DMs out there, stuff like that, don't argue with your players over. It's not really worth the argument at the table or getting the character in game mad at your players because they called them by the wrong name. It's not worth the argument. Just let your players rename
well,
your NPCs.
well, it's once in a while it's fun though. If like it's
Hmm.
important, right? Like
Well, yeah,
if it's a story. I'm sorry, I forgot. I want to say shiplap now. What's the family
ship
in your
tank,
ship
ship
tank?
tank. Yeah,
if it's a ship tank, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
and then you call them shit tank because it's kind of, I'm sure that's happened at your table more than
it
once.
has,
If they hate these
it
guys,
has. Yeah.
sorry.
I didn't know if it
Uh,
was that obvious, but yeah, it's happened.
so yeah, I've run D&D before. I know how it goes. But yeah, I mean, maybe the character does react to that, right? That could be
Well, yeah,
interesting too. Like,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
if it's not, I mean, if it's obviously within reason, but if it's just random NPC number one and you've given him a name and like, obviously if he's a main character, he's going to, because the players aren't misnaming him for no good reason if it's an important character. They're doing it obviously to get a reaction out of him. But
right.
so as with anything else, you just got to feel where you're at with it. DMing is not a science; it's an art.
Mm-hmm.
It's not baking; it's cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Baking
Mm-hmm.
is following recipes, and cooking is art. So DMing is an art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Uh,
brownies. Uh, it's a cheese dice, man. I'm thinking.
it is a cheese dice, right? Come on, bear.
All right, D6, a thematic monster, and again,
All right.
these can drag and drop into different portions of the story.
So I've got a 4.
For the ghostly garrison,
Ooh.
long dead defenders who employ military tactics to repel intruders. Ooh,
I like that. They could be, maybe it has something to do with the trees that are falling off the disc, off of the distance, but it really turns out to be some sort of looping garrison of long dead soldiers that traipse through the forest, mowing down anything in the path, creating like some sort of ring around the town to keep unwanted visitors in or anybody out. Maybe it's mm,
it's like
yeah,
it's the guys who brought down the
oh,
original,
brought down the spell jamming ship.
or they're trying to stop people from getting to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Either of those work, but I like that long dead defenders who employ military tactic. Like yeah, I like that. Maybe the trees that are being felled down are creating like a physical barrier out there in space, like somewhere out there around the town.
I just had this flash of like, it's not the mist, right? But it looks
Mm.
just like it, and you've seen the mist. And you're like, oh no, guys, I got this one. I know what this is. Like, this, don't listen to anybody. There's some spooky ghost story, but like, no, it's fine. I've done this before. And you go in, and it's just like it's an army of ghosts,
Oh
and they're
yeah,
like chunk chunk chunk, like garrison, like
form
legionnaire
up. It's like
formation. Yeah, it's like whoa, oh, okay, I don't got this.
that's a ghost.
Ghost.
Pirate ghost.
Uh, all right, so we close out with a D20, the swingiest of dice.
All right. Let me get my cheese on.
And the reason we got 20 of these is because we can, as a dungeon master, we keep coming back to plot hooks. I don't know what interesting thing they're going to find. They talked to Johnny Exposition or Timothy Ship Tank. I had to very carefully say that now.
Yeah, right.
What is this person gonna be interested in right now?
So I've got a 15 on that one.
15. Encoded in a children's rhyme is the location of a treasure beneath a well-known monument. That's interesting because that kind of, I would have to write like a little children's rhyme now in prep,
Hmm.
but like,
But that could be where location of the rod,
oh, nice.
it could be the location of the that out there in the world somewhere. Um, that I have to find. When that was, but who doesn't love writing nursery rhymes for your campaigns? I do. I
So
do.
God, Scarlet. No, no. I get the Scarlet Citadel from Scarlet Citadel now. Dang, too many
Too many
citadels,
citadels.
too many citadels. But Scarlet Citadel was a fun kind of mega dungeon from Cobalt Press. Gauntlet. That's what it was. The Gauntlet is a Pathfinder 2e campaign that I ran. That
Oh,
is phenomenal. So much cool stuff in there. But they opened the book with this creepy sing-songy verse thing, and I had like children skipping around singing it, and like mothers like rocking their babies and singing it like a lullaby.
oh,
And like,
there's
ooh, spookies.
there's probably something in the Vassan book. There's a lot in there about Thursday's children, and because the characters have psychic abilities as children and stuff. So there's quite a few creepy Nordic nursery rhymes in there that I'd probably steal something from if
God, love it.
given the right of time.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't have to write
Yeah.
all of this. You got 50 years to pull from. Somewhere, someone has already
Oh
written a
yeah.
spooky rhyme. And yeah, just like because we started with this idea of like, oh, like are the legends true,
Hmm.
right? And like, oh, the truth has been encoded. Like no one remembers. The ring around the rosie's the Black Death, right? Like no
Yeah,
one
right.
remembers what's going on, but like the kids have been repeating this thing. It's like you've known since you were 3 years old, but you didn't realize the
Didn't realize the significance of the whole
yeah.
thing. Yeah, maybe the nursery rhyme is explicit directions to this monument. Where then something in the nursery rhyme is like walking 3 times around the tree and falls down the hill to a rock built of three, or it's like something, and it's
Mhm.
like it's exact instructions, exact directions on how to get to this monument.
Mhm.
And everybody's like, well, wait a minute, that's just a nursery rhyme. And
Yeah,
like
and that,
Goonies, like it's very Goonies esque, pulling out the map and like 50 paces and holding up a rock, and yeah, it's just yeah, there's there's some good stuff in there.
it can be pretty tricky to pull off. One, because it might never pay off, and two, they might solve it instantly. But
Hmm. Yeah.
I
Oh, this is
do love the you have the key all along, and you just didn't realize.
well, even if one does have the key all along, it's still a matter of using the key in a
Mm-hmm.
meaningful way. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just because you know that you have a set of directions, what's the starting point? What's the middle point? What directions are you, going in to use these directions? So there's still questions that need to be answered, even if you find out that you have a set of directions on your hands. Still,
That
where's the
was
starting point? Yeah.
that was really cool, and it's yeah, and again, I mean, not all, but most all of it was actually very time based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the mystery behind that we've all forgotten. That like there's little clues that we're like that's what we're exploring.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
well done, sir. Well done on this. Good
I
job.
mean, I get partial credit. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. So what is? Let's go big.
Okay.
Where's my button? I can't. Where's the button? Boom.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us here today. That was a lot of fun. I got some really cool creative ideas spark in that process. And really enjoyed the first half of our conversations. What's on deck? What's on deck for Ravenlore?
Well, I am right now I'm working on the Loop Guru video, which is
Mm,
a French-inspired werewolf, and the script has actually become rather bloated because in the process of digging through all the Ravenloft lore, I actually came across a legend, something called the Beast of Gévaudan,
mm,
which was a real life loup-garou uh, attack that took place over the course of 4 or 5 years in the province of Gévaudan, France.
mm,
Over 100 and some people were killed by this
mm,
beast.
mm,
And the French government got involved. There was a fake beast that was slain and presented to be the beast, but then the killings continued, and they never found out what this creature was. And it's real, it's documented, and I don't want to spoil it. I want to keep an air of mystery around it, but they think they may know what it was, and it was not a wolf. Uh, um, but
mm.
so I've included that into the video, and it's become a bloated mess that I'm now having to go back and re-edit and refocus. But I'm having a great time writing it, and that's the next one. And then I'm going to be working on obviously the cartography video, and then I'm still putting pieces together for the live read. I also do live readings where I have one out now on House of the Night where I take a module and I read it cover to cover like an audiobook.
Mm.
And so I'll do that live and do some other fun things live streaming, and then I'll pull out the reading of the book and then stitch them all together and release it as a long form video. So I'm doing the module called The Created, which is about puppets, marionettes. Think think
Mm.
evil what's the guy's name? Pinocchio. Evil Pinocchio. It's the city is very much Italian based, and
Ah.
it's right up it's a short module, but it's a lot of fun. And unfortunately, anybody who looks at this is automatically like, oh, the puppets are evil. So never show your players the cover art or any of the art in the book, it's going to give away the whole entire module. A lot about Ravenloft is subterfuge, and you got to keep your cards close to your vest sometimes. Otherwise, it's just like, oh yeah, the dolls are bad. Well, yeah,
I never trust the puppets.
no,
You're never
nobody,
gonna get me with that one. Yeah,
nobody
come
ever
on.
does trust the puppets.
No,
Nobody ever does.
because we've
So,
seen movies. We know what's happening here.
uh,
We know. I grew up on Chucky, but like, nah.
yeah,
What's
I know.
what's the? I don't know. Shoot,
And then,
what's the other
and
one?
then after that, I'm gonna take a look at this supplement, which is Carnival, which in, not ready to announce anything just yet, but that one is actually going to be a collaborative effort where I'm going to have some other creators come on and read some parts to that module. So that's a little bit down the road, but yeah, there's some stuff coming out, and at the speed I work, eh, well, hopefully it won't be too long. There's some other things out, but now the Loop Guru video is probably about a week out, so that's actually not too bad. I'm actually moving along on that. So yeah, so there's some things coming.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Lucaru. Like I
Oh yeah.
love. I've turned one player character into a werewolf, and it's like that. What we were talking about before of like the beneficial mechanics that just like how long can I ride this before it goes completely
Mm.
sideways on me? And yeah,
Oh.
just like those the old like European folklore before back when it was grim,
Oh yeah.
when the world was a little more mysterious and like yeah,
Yeah, you were
anything could be out
isolated to your
there.
village, and there was like, that beast over the hill is probably just some jackal or something, but it's this world-ending catastrophe just up over the hill, and
Mhm.
yeah, I love that, I love that type of milieu,
Yeah.
which is why I'm so much into Ravenloft.
So
So
that should be up before this one. So I will highly recommend you go check that out. Looking forward to the cartography. I'm a sucker for maps, and yeah, maybe we'll talk about that carnival piece.
great.
Exciting stuff, man.
Mhm. That's up to you if you want to talk about that.
Yeah,
So
well, I'm in. I'm still on the fence about what
yeah,
I'm leaning towards one of the members of the freak show. That's not what it's
yeah, the
called in
carnival, yeah.
the carnival oddities and interesting. I got my character picked out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in case anybody's wondering, there's a section in there called the Barker's Call, and it's very Barker's introduction. So, it's done in the style of a carnival Barker going around introducing everybody in the carnival. So, the idea is to get a bunch of creators on to come and read a specific section, and a few people. Ryan has already agreed to be on it, and a couple other creators. And actually, we have one of the authors of the book is going to be reading a section. Steve Miller has agreed to come on, and then Stan, if things work out, Stan, who is a producer on it, should be coming on. So I'm going to try to get people who are actually involved in the book as well to come on. So it should be pretty fun. And I'm glad you agreed to do it. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. So I appreciate you agreeing to that. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I mean it looks like a lot of fun.
Oh,
And yeah, I'm a yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be
yeah,
cool. I appreciate you coming on to
yeah,
this. Thank you
absolutely.
so much. Everybody out there, be kind, have fun, and yeah, we will see you next time. And check out Ravenlore for sure.
Ryan, thank you so much for having me on today, sir.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Bye everybody. Whew, what a great dude. If you haven't watched our D20 questions conversation, go check it out. And definitely go check out Ravenlore. You'll be hearing from me over there very soon. If you want your own copy of the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation, packed full of 50 of those archetype spreads and even more tables to inspire you, that link is down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind. Have fun.